You're now watching a clip from the MarcWes Sports Podcast.
And that kind of transitions to the next topic we want to talk about, and we'll talk about a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in a minute. But as far as championships concerned, since we're on the topic, there was talk about championships and what is the hardest sports championship to win. And they were saying, trying to compare the NBA to the NFL. And this is a really tough question to me because they're all tough. They're all tough to do. If you ask me, I think boxing and UFC is probably the toughest sport to do individually, just because you have to be in shape, you have to, be strong. You have to be mentally tough, and you have to endure pain at the same time, like all of that. So that's tough. And obviously the NFL is tough because so many different moving parts, there's so many different things that could go wrong. You can have the best team. If your quarterback go down, it's over, or, it's just, there's so many different moving parts with football, just period. And then basketball as well. I anything that's got like a 7-game series, though, I think is easier to win than something that is single elimination. So that immediately knocks out basketball, that knocks out baseball, that knocks out hockey. But it doesn't knock out the individual sports with boxing and UFC. So I'm still going to say that football is the hardest thing because there's so many different factors involved for you to win. You could have the best team. There's been a lot of times I felt like the best team didn't win the Super Bowl, just because one or two plays just didn't go your way. The bounce didn't go your way. A penalty, killed the drive that probably would have, been the game-winning drive. To me, football is the hardest championship to win just because if your kicker is bad, if your kicker is bad, you could lose a game. You could have the best team and then your kicker misses the kick to win the game. You lose the game. There's just so many different factors. So in my opinion, I would say UFC is the toughest championship to win individually, and team sport is football. I'm sorry. It's American football, not soccer. The American football is the toughest championship to win.
Okay, and I agree to a certain extent because I agree with the football 100% because you got all these different pieces. Of course, like Marcus said, you could do everything right and then the kicker misses, especially right now since they actually moved the field goal from directly in front of the field goal to like 35 to the 35 yard line. So it's definitely makes it a little harder for any individual to win sometimes, even though you're playing great. But me, I'm going to say first and foremost, I really do think the NFL football is the hardest sport. One is because it's more physical, it's more physical, and of course you got the moving parts like Marcus just stated. As far as like boxing and UFC, I know it's fighting. I really do know it's fighting. Boxing, I take them out of the actual conversation because they have gloves on. They have boxing gloves on, which kind of mask the punch. You still gonna find people bleeding, getting hurt. But again, UFC, like they're going with their hands. A lot of them don't wrap up their hands.
You still got the UFC gloves.
It's not the same. Them gloves is like, come on, man. I wore them gloves before. It's not that much padding there. It's like really like, so you won't break your hand.
Right. It's nothing to compare to the boxing.
To the boxing.
Got a bunch of tape over that.
Exactly. So me, I really do think, and not just that, but they don't have no tape on their feet. They don't got their tape on their feet. They don't have no tape on their knees. I've been seeing a lot of flying knees. Remember the guy, he got knocked out in a few seconds. You feel me? Just for the flying knee. So I would have UFC up there, but it's an individual sport. Since it's an individual sport, I know that you can go ahead and focus on yourself. But in football, it has to be a collective. That's why they win. You know, that's why they win this whole conversation because, you know, like, and you notice like, even with Tom Brady, he have a certain work ethic. Notice that the teams that he be on, everyone has that same work ethic. And if you don't, you're not on the team no more. You know, we really have to be on the same page. Comparing to the NBA, like you could have a garbage team and have one person like LeBron James on your team and you win the finals just because he is dominant like that. You know, so again, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with Marcus on this one. The NFL is going to have to take this one. I think it's the hardest in the out of all of the leagues to win an actual championship or a title. Hey, it is what it is. I heard you know, one analyst saying that it was basketball. I was like, what are you saying? You know, it's not as physical, especially not the basketball of today. Maybe if you're talking about the basketball when Jordan was playing, when there was really fighting, when there was really actually you know, being physical. You know, right now there's no hand checking, there's no, you know, like they call foul on every play. Like, come on, man. It's not like you, even when it comes to the finals, you know, like last year's finals made me feel some type of way about the league and how watered down they made it. Because when you go to the playoffs, them cheap fouls, they don't call them. They were just calling them all day for the Miami Heat. And I know we're on another topic, but I'm like, yo, you automatically take them out also because the physicality of the NFL supersedes every other sport for me.
Yeah, and it just got harder because they added another game too. Like it, as if it can't even be hard enough for these players. They're gonna play a 17 game season now, so it just gets harder and harder. And then like injuries, man. I don't know if we talked about injuries at all, but like injuries are a factor, especially with that's the reason why they play one game a week. Because imagine playing 2 games a week. Basketball, you play like back to back sometimes,
Yep.
you know, because it's not as physical. You're not bruised up after every game. You know, I mean, I played football when I was a jit, and I used to be like, after a game, like I had bruises all kinds of places. And the next day, I'm like, where the hell this came from? You know, I didn't even, you know, like, and these are professionals. These are huge dudes, some of them. So yeah, it's clearly for me. The only other tournament that is hard though is March Madness because it's single elimination and they're kids. It's hard to manage kids and their kind of mental makeup, and it's single elimination and they have to win 6 games in a tournament. So that's a little bit harder for me. That especially is harder than the NBA or the baseball, the hockey, where it's a 7-game series. Man, you got to win 4 games to eliminate somebody. There's not as much pressure on each game. Super Bowl in the playoffs in the NFL is 1 game, you know, that's a lot of pressure, you know, so definitely to me that it's the NFL. So we're just going to keep it moving with the NFL.
Yep.
As Aaron Rodgers is in the news this week. Like